The phone rang at 7:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was halfway through my morning coffee when David Chen's name appeared on the screen. My estate attorney. We hadn't spoken in months. "Thomas, I need you to come to my office today. It's urgent." My hand tightened around the phone. David wasn't the type to use that word lightly. "What's this about?" "I can't discuss it over the phone. Can you be here at 2 o'clock? I glanced at my calendar. Clear, like most days since I'd retired. "I'll be there." "Good. And Thomas?" He paused. "Come alone. Don't mention this to anyone, especially not to Michael or Stephen. My sons." Why would he specifically mention them? The drive to David's office in downtown Portland took 40 minutes. Every red light felt like an eternity. I kept replaying his words. Don't mention this to anyone, especially not to Michael or Stephen. My wife Catherine had been gone for 18 months now. Pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. The boys had been supportive during that time, or so I thought. Michael had flown in from Seattle every weekend. Stephen had taken a leave from his marketing firm to help me arrange everything. David's receptionist led me straight back. No waiting. That was unusual. He stood when I entered, his face grave. "Thomas, sit down." He opened a leather folder on his desk. Inside was an envelope, yellowed slightly at the edges. My name was written across it in Catherine's handwriting. My heart lurched. "Where did you get this?" "Catherine gave it to me 3 months before she passed. She made me promise to wait 18 months after her death before giving it to you. She was very specific about the timing." My fingers trembled as I reached for it. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because she asked me not to. She said you'd understand when you read it." I turned the envelope over. It was sealed with red wax, old-fashioned, like Catherine. I broke the seal and pulled out 3 pages of her careful script. "I'll give you some privacy," David said, standing. "No, stay." He sat back down. I began to read. "My dearest Thomas, if you're reading this, I've been gone for 1.5 years. I hope you're healing. I hope you found some peace. But now it's time for you to know the truth. And I'm sorry it has to be me who tells you from beyond the grave. Don't trust Michael and Stephen, our sons. I know how that sounds. I know how it will hurt you to read those words. But please, keep reading." 6 months before my diagnosis, I overheard a conversation I was never meant to hear. It was late at night. You were already asleep. I came downstairs for water and heard voices in your study. Michael and Stephen. They didn't know I was there. Thomas, they were planning. Planning for after we're gone. They talked about the house, the investments, the life insurance. They talked about how to handle you if you decided to remarry or change your will. Michael said, and I'll never forget this, "We just need to wait them out. Another 10 years max. Then, everything's ours." Stephen laughed and said, "Dad's so naive. He thinks we actually care about his stories and his advice. We're just playing the part." I stopped reading. My vision blurred. This couldn't be real. Catherine must have been confused. Maybe the cancer had already started affecting her. Maybe she'd misheard. But I kept reading. "I know what you're thinking. You think I was confused or mistaken. I thought that too, at first. So I started paying attention. Really paying attention. Michael never visits unless he needs something. Stephen calls every Sunday, but have you noticed he's always in a hurry to hang up? They ask about your health constantly, but not because they're concerned. They're tracking it. When I got my diagnosis, I watched them even more carefully. They played their parts perfectly. Loving sons. Devoted. But I saw the looks they exchanged when you weren't watching. I heard Stephen on the phone with his wife saying, "At least with Mom going first, there won't be any community property complications." I'm telling you this now because you need time to verify what I'm saying. You need to see it for yourself. Don't confront them yet. Just watch. Pay attention. You'll see what I saw. I've already spoken to David about updating my will. My half of everything is going into a trust that you control, but with provisions they don't know about. David has the details. I love you, Thomas. I always have. I'm sorry I have to leave you with this burden, but I couldn't leave you blind to the truth. You're Catherine. I set the letter down. My hands were shaking. David was watching me carefully. Did you know what was in this? She told me the general content. Yes. She also asked me to tell you something. She wanted you to verify her claims before making any decisions. She said you'd need proof to believe it. Proof? I repeated numbly. How am I supposed to get proof? David opened his desk drawer and pulled out a business card. Catherine suggested you might want to install some security cameras. She said the house already has the wiring from that old system you never finished setting up. I took the card. A security company. You're suggesting I spy on my own sons? I'm suggesting you find out the truth. Catherine was very clear-headed when she came to me, Thomas. I've known her for 20 years. She wasn't confused or paranoid. She was concerned, and she wanted to protect you. I drove home in a daze. The house felt different as I pulled into the driveway. The craftsman-style home Catherine and I had bought 30 years ago, where we'd raised the boys, where we'd planned to grow old together. Now, it felt like a stage set, a place where performances happened. Michael's car was in the driveway. He had a key. He'd been staying in the guest house out back on and off for the past year, ever since his divorce. Rent-free, of course. He said he needed time to get back on his feet. I found him in the kitchen, making a sandwich. Hey, Dad! Didn't expect you back so soon. How was the errand? Fine, I said, watching him. Really watching him, the way Catherine had described. Just some paperwork with David. Something flickered in his eyes. Everything okay? Nothing wrong with the estate? Why would something be wrong? No reason, just, making sure everything's in order. For your peace of mind. For my peace of mind. Or for his. Everything's fine, I said. That night, I called the security company. They came out the next day while Michael was at a job interview. The technician was efficient. 4 cameras. 1 in the living room, 1 in my study, 1 in the kitchen, 1 in the hallway. Small, discreet, positioned to look like smoke detectors or air quality monitors. The feed went to an app on my phone. Most people use these for security, the technician said. But they're also good for keeping an eye on things when you're not home. Like keeping an eye on people who shouldn't be snooping where they don't belong. I didn't have to wait long. 3 days later, I told Michael I was driving to Salem to visit an old colleague. It was a lie. Instead, I parked at a coffee shop 2 miles away and opened the security app on my phone. At first, nothing. Michael was in his room, but after an hour, he emerged and walked straight to my study. I watched him sit at my desk and open the bottom drawer, the one where I kept important documents. He pulled out folders, photographing pages with his phone. My investment statements, my will, the deed to the house. My stomach turned, but I kept watching. He called someone. I couldn't hear the audio through the app, but I could read his lips well enough. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. He's got about 2.3 million liquid, plus the house. No, nothing's changed in the will. Still split 50-50 between us. He paused, listening. I know. We just need to be patient. He's only 68, but his blood pressure's been high. His doctor mentioned some heart concerns last year. It's just a matter of time. I closed the app. I couldn't watch anymore, but I needed more than this. I needed to see if Stephen was involved too, or if this was just Michael. Sunday dinner. Stephen drove down from Seattle like he did every week. The perfect son. He brought flowers and asked about my week and listened to my stories about the old days with what looked like genuine interest. After dinner, we sat in the living room. I excused myself to take a phone call. Another lie. I went upstairs and watched them on my phone. The moment they thought I was out of earshot, their faces changed. How much longer are we supposed to keep this up? Stephen said. These Sunday dinners are killing me. 3 hours of listening to the same stories about his glory days at the firm. Michael laughed. Think of it as an investment. A few more years of playing the devoted son, and we're set for life. Did you get into his investment accounts? Yeah, he's up about $400,000 from last year. The market's been good to him. What about the house? Zillow estimates it at $1.8 million. The neighborhood's gotten expensive. Stephen leaned back. You know what kills me? He actually thinks we care. He thinks these visits mean something. Let him think it. Makes our job easier. I turned off the phone. I'd seen enough. That night, I called David. I need to see you tomorrow, and I need to change my will. The next morning, I met with David and his partner, Rebecca Martinez, who specialized in estate law. I showed them the video footage. Rebecca watched without expression. When it finished, she looked at me. "What do you want to do?" "I want to cut them out. Completely." David leaned forward. "Thomas, I need to ask you this. Are you certain? Once we do this, there's no going back. This will destroy your relationship with your sons." "What relationship?" I said bitterly. "The one where they pretend to care while waiting for me to die?" "Fair point," Rebecca said. She pulled out a legal pad. "Let's talk about your options." We spent 3 hours going through everything. My assets, my accounts, my plans. By the end, I had a new will. Michael and Stephen would each receive $1, the symbolic gesture. Everything else would go to a charitable trust I was establishing in Catherine's name, focused on pancreatic cancer research and support for caregivers. "When do you want to tell them?" David asked. "I don't. Not yet. I want to see how far they'll go." Over the next 2 months, I watched. I played the role of the oblivious father while documenting everything. Michael going through my mail. Stephen asking pointed questions about my health insurance. Both of them encouraging me to update my beneficiary forms, making sure their names were still listed. The breaking point came in October. I'd been feeling tired, so I went to my doctor for a checkup. Nothing serious, just age catching up with me. But Michael saw the appointment on my calendar. That evening, I watched on my phone as he called Stephen. "Dad had a doctor's appointment today. I think something's wrong." "What makes you say that?" He looked worried when he came home. "And he's been rubbing his chest. I think it's his heart." Stephen's voice was eager. "Did you ask him about it?" "Not directly, but I suggested he should make sure his affairs are in order. You know, just in case." "Good. We should probably talk to him about medical power of attorney soon. Make sure we can make decisions if something happens." "Already ahead of you. I found a form online. I'm going to bring it up next week." I turned off the phone. My chest actually was hurting, but not from any medical condition, from the crushing weight of knowing my sons were counting down the days until my death. The next day, I called them both, asked them to come to the house on Saturday, said I had something important to discuss. They both arrived early, eager. They probably thought I was going to tell them about some health crisis or update them on my estate. We sat in the living room, the same room where they'd laughed about playing their parts. I had a folder on the coffee table. "Boys, I need to tell you something." Michael leaned forward. "What is it, Dad? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but we need to have an honest conversation." Stephen glanced at Michael. Some unspoken communication passed between them. "Your mother left me a letter," I said. "She gave it to David Chen before she died, with instructions to give it to me 18 months later." I watched their faces carefully. Michael's jaw tightened. Stephen's eyes narrowed. "What did it say?" Stephen asked. "She warned me about you, both of you. She said I shouldn't trust you." "Dad," that's Michael started. "Let me finish." I opened the folder. At first, I didn't believe her. How could I? You're my sons. I raised you. I thought maybe the cancer had confused her, or she'd misunderstood something. I pulled out screenshots from the security footage, so I decided to verify what she'd said. I installed cameras. The color drained from both their faces. "These are from the past 3 months. You going through my desk, Michael, photographing my financial documents, your phone calls discussing my health like you're checking the status of an investment, your conversations about how much longer you'd have to keep this up." Michael stood up. "Dad, you're taking this out of context. Sit down." Something in my voice made him obey. "I heard Stephen call these Sunday dinners killing him. I heard you both laugh about me, thinking you actually care. I watched you calculate the value of my life in real time." Stephen's face had gone from pale to red. "You spied on us? Your own sons?" I verified a warning from my dying wife. "There's a difference." "This is insane," Michael said. "We care about you. We've been here for you since Mom died. You've been here for yourselves, monitoring your inheritance, making sure I don't remarry or give money away or do anything that might reduce your payout." "That's not fair," Stephen said, but his voice lacked conviction. I pulled out the final document. "Here's what's going to happen. I've revised my will. You'll each receive $1 when I die. Everything else goes to a charitable trust in your mother's name. You can't do that, Michael shouted. I already have. David filed the paperwork yesterday. Stephen stood up. This is because of some paranoid letter? Because you spied on us and heard things out of context? No. This is because you confirmed exactly what your mother warned me about. She knew you, she saw through you, and she tried to protect me. She poisoned you against us. Michael's face was twisted with rage now, all pretense gone. She was always jealous of our relationship with you. She couldn't stand that we were close. We weren't close. That's the point. You were playing a role, waiting for me to die so you could cash in. After everything we've done for you, Stephen started. What have you done? Michael, you've been living rent-free in my guest house for a year. Stephen, I paid off your student loans and gave you the down payment for your house. I've given you everything, and you repay me by counting down the days until my funeral. Michael stepped closer. For a moment, I thought he might actually get physical. You're making a huge mistake. No, the mistake was mine. Your mother tried to tell me what you'd become, and I didn't want to believe her. She was right. She was right about everything. Fine, Stephen said coldly. If that's how you want it. But don't expect us to keep pretending. No more Sunday dinners. No more phone calls. You want to cut us out? Consider yourself cut out of our lives, too. I'm okay with that. They left without another word. I watched through the window as they stood by their cars, arguing. Michael gestured angrily back at the house. Stephen was on his phone, probably calling his wife, probably complaining about the inheritance they'd just lost. I felt empty, but I also felt free. David called the next morning. How did it go? About as well as expected. They're furious. Are you okay? I will be. For what it's worth, Thomas. I think Catherine would be proud of you. After we hung up, I sat in my study. The same study where Catherine had heard that conversation that changed everything, where Michael had rifled through my papers. I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out a photograph. Catherine and me on our 30th anniversary. She was smiling, her arm around my waist. We'd been happy. We'd built a life together. I'd thought we'd built a family too. But maybe the family was just the two of us all along. The next few months were quiet. Michael moved out of the guest house, didn't even say goodbye. Stephen stopped calling. I heard through mutual friends that they were both telling people I'd gone senile, that I was being manipulated by my attorney, that they were considering legal action. Let them. David had made sure the will was airtight. I threw myself into the charitable trust, found board members, established criteria for grants, met with researchers working on pancreatic cancer treatments. Catherine's death wouldn't be meaningless. Maybe we couldn't save her, but we could help save others. In February, I got a call from Michael. I almost didn't answer. Dad, I need to talk to you. I don't think we have anything to say to each other. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. Neutral territory. He looked thinner, tired. He sat down across from me and didn't speak for a long moment. I'm sorry, he finally said. I waited. I know that doesn't mean anything now. I know I destroyed everything, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. What are you sorry for, specifically? He flinched at the question. For treating you like a bank account instead of a father. For waiting for you to die. For all of it. What brought this on? Therapy. My ex-wife suggested it during the divorce. I've been going for 6 months now, and I'm starting to understand how messed up I've been. Starting to understand. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to change. I got a job. A real one. I'm renting my own place. I'm trying to figure out who I am when I'm not just waiting for an inheritance. I studied him. He seemed sincere, but I'd thought he was sincere before too. I'm glad you're in therapy. I'm glad you're working. But it doesn't change what you did. I know. You and your brother treated me like an obstacle. An inconvenience. You waited for me to die. I know, he said again, his voice breaking. And I hate myself for it. I don't know what happened to me, Dad. Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as a person. You were just a means to an end, and that's unforgivable. Yes, it is. He wiped his eyes. Mom knew, didn't she? That's what the letter was about. She saw what we'd become. She did. She tried to warn me. She was always smarter than the rest of us. He gave a sad smile. I miss her. So do I. We sat in silence for a moment. I should go, he said. But Dad, thank you for seeing me. And thank you for the wake-up call. I needed it, even if it destroyed everything. He left. I sat there with my coffee, thinking about Catherine. She'd known exactly what would happen. She'd known I'd need to see it for myself to believe it. And she'd known that eventually, maybe one of them would wake up. Stephen never called, never apologized. I heard he was doing well at his firm. He'd moved to a bigger house. He was fine without me. And I was fine without them. On what would have been Catherine's 65th birthday, I visited her grave. I brought roses, her favorite. I sat on the bench nearby and talked to her the way I used to. You were right, I said, about everything. I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. The wind rustled through the trees. I could almost hear her voice. I know, Thomas, I know. The trust is doing well. We've funded 3 research projects and helped 200 families with caregiver support. Your name is making a difference. That's good. Michael apologized. I don't know if it changes anything. Stephen hasn't contacted me at all. You did the right thing. Did I? Sometimes I wonder if I should have tried harder. If I should have. Thomas. I could hear her voice so clearly in my mind. You can't save people who don't want to be saved. You can't love people into being better. You can only protect yourself and hope they find their own way. I miss you. I know. I miss you too. But I'm still here. In every choice you make. In every person the trust helps. In every moment you choose to live with dignity instead of being taken advantage of. I stayed until the sun started to set. When I got home, the house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt peaceful, like a weight had been lifted. I pulled out Catherine's letter and read it one more time. Then I put it back in its envelope and placed it in a box with her other things. Her wedding ring, her favorite scarf, the last birthday card she'd given me. The phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Henderson? This is Dr. Sarah Martinez from Portland General. I'm calling about the pancreatic cancer research grant your trust funded. I wanted to thank you personally. We just got results from our clinical trial, and we're seeing real progress. Treatment response rates are up by 30%. I closed my eyes. That's wonderful news. It's because of donors like you. Your wife's legacy is saving lives. After we hung up, I stood at the window and looked out at the yard. Catherine and I had planted those rose bushes together 20 years ago. They bloomed every spring without fail. I thought about Michael and Stephen, wherever they were. I thought about the people who would benefit from the trust. I thought about Catherine, who had loved me enough to warn me even knowing it would hurt. Some love means letting go. Some love means setting boundaries. Some love means protecting yourself, even when it breaks your heart. Catherine had taught me that. She'd given me one last gift, the truth, and the strength to act on it. I picked up my journal and started writing. Not for anyone else, just for me, recording the truth of what happened, so I wouldn't forget, so that years from now, if I ever doubted myself, I could read this and remember that I made the right choice. The house was quiet, but it wasn't lonely. It was mine, my space, my peace, and that was enough.